So I want to welcome you to this live and ask you a question. Are you ready to get clear about what's really most important for you to achieve before the clock runs out on 2024? We're going to take stock on the last quarter or however long you want so that you can maximize your Q4 impact. And I know you joined today for a live thinking I was going to do all the work, but that's not the case. So don't drop, don't go. It's going to be a fun exercise. But I am going to ask you to do the labor today. So I'm going to facilitate you through a co-working exercise that's going to help achieve the goals that we just talked about. And first, hi, I'm Sara Lobkovich. I'm a board certified health and well-being coach. I'm so excited to say that. That's brand new. I just earned that credential last week. So I'm going to say it again because I'm really excited about it. I'm a board certified health and wellness coach focused on career well-being and impact. And I've trained somewhere around 2,000. I stopped counting at 2,000, but I've trained over 2,000 objectives and key results coaches and led objectives and key results or OKR adoption in multi-thousand person organizations in the Fortune 100 and 500, as well as with purpose-driven solos and small businesses of all sizes. What matters to me is that you're driven by purpose. So if that's the case, you're in the right place. In today's workshop, you're going to start with a blank sheet of paper or an empty file and end with crystal clarity about the facts of your current state, your lessons learned during the last quarter, and insight about your most important growth areas for the upcoming quarter. So that's where we're going to begin. I do have a couple ground rules though. This falls into an event series that I call Goal Fridays, and this is a community offering. It's basically a few times a year, I pull folks together for a series of live events Friday mornings at 9 a.m. In the near future, I'm going to be adding another time zone. I have a lot of friends and fans in Australia, and this is a terrible time for them. So we will be adding a second time slot to these, not right away, but we're working on it for our friends in Australia and in Asian time zones. But for now, we're going to be here for, counting today, 9 weeks of free live goal-focused sessions. So I'm seeing so many friendly faces in the comments. Thanks, y'all. Welcome. I'm going to share the ground rules for Goal Fridays with you, and it takes me just a sec to switch over to the right screen here. So 1 second. These are the parts that I just have never, someday I'll know how to do this elegantly. But here's what we're going to take a look at. So I mentioned Goal Friday. What we're going to be doing today is you're actually going to be externalizing your thinking. So we've got a funky something with the Miro display. Hopefully I can make it work. So here's the schedule. Here's what you can expect today. Well, let me try and zoom it in so y'all can see just the right amount of stuff here. Unfortunately, I can't put Miro in presentation mode because then I can't see the rest of my screen. So we'll make it work. So we're going to spend just a couple minutes on how we do Goal Friday and what the rules of play are for our Goal Friday time together. And then we're going to spend time on an exercise that's a quarterly learning review. And this is kind of the first part of your reflection and reset of goals, because I hate to be the one to break it to you, but we're staring down the end of 2024. And that's really exciting because before you know it, we're going to be planning for 2025, but we want to maximize every bit of achievement and growth and everything we can get out of 2024. I don't know about you. I have a huge Q4 with books coming out. And so it's going to be a big one. So I can't sleep on Q4 and you can't either. We've got to go into 2025 strong. So when it says their independent working block, that's actually the co-working exercise that I'll be facilitating. And then we're going to stay on for another 15 minutes of live Q&A today. And I think I can see we've had issues with LinkedIn in the past, but it looks like we've got folks on from LinkedIn, we've got folks on from YouTube, and I can see your comments, knock on wood. Hopefully that stays. So if you have questions at any time, drop them in the comments. I might not be able to answer right when you ask, but we'll get back to it. So rules of play for Goal Fridays. What we're going to do here is we're going to create the conditions for you to do your best thinking. So I am, for example, I'm not going to play background music during the breakout sessions. Sometimes I do, but not today. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to have very short breakouts for you to work on some certain questions. And that's not to stress you out. It's just because what I find is we get our kind of highest quality self-insight out of the first few minutes of thought on a question. And then after that, our brain kicks in and starts overthinking, and we're not going to go there. This is the month LB is on and Jamar is on, my heroes in Don't Overthink It. So we're going to instead use that first insight part of our brain. So I'm going to share a couple options for you for working files in just a sec. Or you can do what I do, because I'm going to do this with you, and just get a plain old sheet of paper and be ready to externalize your thinking. The conversations in the chat are, I say confidential. It's just, I want people to be able to ask questions in the chat. So consider that confidential. Let's hold each other in a safe space for being able to ask questions and really discuss our businesses here. And along with that, this is a kind, affirming, supportive experience, which pairs with our focus on non-toxic goal setting. So we're here to inspire ourselves, to stretch into uncertain territory, to experiment, to learn, to get curious about how we can improve. This is not the place where we beat ourselves up about our goals, about failure to attain our goals. When you work with me on goals, you learn really fast. Goals, you're either winning or you're learning. That's it. There is no losing, because we have to fail sometimes to learn what we need to win in the future. So goals here are not about toxic productivity, toxic positivity, or toxic performativity. This is about you getting inspired to tackle Q4 in a really excited and focused way. So with that, we're going to get right into our exercise. What we're doing right now is the step that I call a quarterly learning review. So this is the step that precedes our actual goal setting. This is when we develop the insight that we need to make good choices in our goal setting. And I'll share more at the end of the session, but our next couple gatherings are going to be about goal setting itself. But here, we're going to start our work with reflecting on what we've learned over the last quarter or year, or however long you want to think about. We're also going to envision what might be most important or what might be different going forward. So the outcome is externalize thinking on one sheet of paper about what you'll stop, what you'll rework, and what you're going to nurture going into your next goal cycle. And that helps us maximize use of what you've learned so you can improve your focus and improve your performance in Q4. And if you don't, you're going to learn. And it works because we often just sit down and start setting our goals. But if we don't take time to reflect on what worked and what didn't, what needs changing, then we very often carry activity plans, especially into the new goal cycle, that we might be better off saying, we might not need to do that anymore. That's not working. So let's shift course or try a different experiment. It also, when we don't do this step, we have all sorts of cognitive biases and all sorts of gremlins in our brains that might negative scan or positive scan or forget big learnings because they were traumatic or for any number of reasons. And so we want to take this time to do this check-in with ourselves so we just don't forget or have a mental lapse about any of the important things that we've recently learned. So, with that, we're going to do a 3-part learning review and reset. And these are, like I said, they're going to be really quick sessions. So, I am going to try, sadly, my dear Ellie is out sick today. So, I'm sending her big love on hoping she feels better soon. I am going to put in the chat window a couple links to downloads. One is for an ability to copy the Google Slide template version of this worksheet. One is to download just a PDF of it. I don't know if these are going to come through. I don't know if they're going to work. This is a test of my technology. So if they don't work, don't worry about it. Just get a clean sheet of paper. And then afterward, I'm going to make sure that you can get all this information. So I'm trying to post. We'll see. It looks like that went through to maybe YouTube. It might not have gone through to LinkedIn. So my LinkedIn friends, just grab a sheet of paper, and you can do this with a blank sheet of paper. And luckily on LinkedIn, I know who you are, so I can send you the links after. So you won't miss anything. All right. So we're going to think about our preceding goal cycle. That can be a quarter, it can be a month, it can be a year. You can think about whatever kind of past reflection time horizon you'd like to. And we're going to think about it as if it was a growing season in a garden. With that analogy in mind, the first question that we're going to ask and answer is, what goes in the burn pile? You know, when you do these retrospectives, everyone here is probably familiar with retrospectives. It's always start, stop, continue, or, something like that. And I have always had a hard time figuring out what goes in what bucket. It seems so simple, but the start and continue seem kind of overlappy to my brain. I always struggle with that. So we use a different model. We think about, what are we going to torch, not just what are we going to stop. This is, what have we been doing, or what is in our existence that we never have to even think about again? We're just going to light it on fire. So what are you moving on from entirely because it's outdated, it doesn't serve you, it doesn't contribute to your future? Or where do you have invasive weeds that just got to go? They're not good for you, they're not good for your business, they're not good for your people. So that is the first question we're going to spend time on. And we're just going to do 5 minutes on this. So let me see if I can get my timer up. We'll spend 5 minutes. I'm not going to play music, so you can put on some lo-fi coffee shop music in the background or whatever helps you focus. And I'm going to set a timer, and I'm going to do this with you. So I will see you back here in 5 minutes. Ooh, great question from LB in the chat. You can think about your business, you can think about your person. This is a work-life space, so they're all mashed up together. So think about whatever is affecting your well-being, your career. This doesn't have to be about work goal setting. It can be. But yeah, think about your life holistically when you're answering these questions. Great question. We're at about the halfway point. So if you're still thinking, not writing, get that pen and paper out. All right, that's our time on that question. Now, I don't know about you. I'm in some kind of emotional way today, but that was pretty deep. That was pretty deep for me. So if you have anything you want to put in the burn pile, I also had the thought while I was writing that I might just put that on its own piece of paper and literally light it on fire when I'm done. So I'm going to do that. You can consider doing the same. But if there is anything that you want to share, any surprises from that question that you want to share, I'd love to see them in the chat window. I am going to go first and let you know my burn pile is number one, worrying about people being mean to me on the internet. Number two, and this one is so hard to put in the burn pile. I was like, can I put it in a parking lot? And it will be in a parking lot realistically, but I put it in the burn pile anyway because it's that serious for now, is net new invention. I'm not creating anything net new. I have books, I have videos, I have course, I have everything. I don't need to create anything new in this upcoming goal cycle. I just need to leverage what I got. I'm also going to stop exposing my people to make money on the internet content and focus on everyone who's in this chat window are running actual knowledge-based businesses. And so you all are the ones that I am in community with and that I'm going to spend more time listening to. And then I am going to stop waiting until things are good enough to share them and get back in the habit of building in public. So those are mine. If anyone wants to share, yeah, Teresa says, I came in thinking I'd focus on my business, but my burn pile is full of things that span far past business. I think that's often what we find in our burn pile. You are not alone. Okay, so I am going to set that one aside because I'm lighting it on fire later. Maybe I'll record that. And we're going to do our second question. So, our second question is, what goes in the compost? What did you try this last quarter that died on the vine or didn't work? Something you might want to take another stab at. This is where our negative scanning brains can sometimes hurt us. We think about what went wrong, or we forget what went right, or what went a little right that we want to try again. So, what goes in the compost? What do you want to keep or continue, but it needs to take some sort of new form to be useful? We're going to spend 5 minutes on that question and then we'll come back again. So let's get our timer started. And again, I'll see you back here in 5 minutes. All right, friends. Anything exciting or interesting headed for your compost pile? I love asking, did anything surprise you in that little session there? I, again, will go first. I'd love to see your thoughts in the chat window. My compost pile, what I'm adding to my compost pile is my lives getting more consistent. It's so scary before we do this, but then it's like the most fun thing ever. So I am going to compost the infrequent and unpredictable lives and start doing this more consistently. The time and labor that we're spending on podcast production, because the podcast is amazing. We love it so much. And we're doing a lot of it in-house that we should be outsourcing. And then our client experience processes. So we need to see what's working and what's most important to improve. And we're going to put that in the compost and we're going to make it better. I see Jamar chimed in with changing the way he has new consults and intro calls. Yep, that's a big one. Awesome. Protecting my peace. Oh, Jamar, you just wrote some incredible objective language. Hang on to your notes. The language of protecting my peace and making sure we both have the same expectations on the call. That's killer objective language. Well done. And then, yeah, Jamar, putting myself out there more, but adding a few more boundaries. Definitely keep that because we can make some objectives and even key results based on what you just said there. Yeah. All right. Anyone else go ahead and chime in the chat window? And then we're going to go on to our last question, and then we'll get into Q&A. So our last question is, what are your cultivation opportunities? Are there seeds that you have planted that might need a little help to grow? Are there seeds that you would like to plant next? And when you envision your garden at the end of Q4, this garden of your life or work or whatever you're getting ready to set goals about, what's different than it is now? So this is a visualization. Think about, what are those seeds you want to plant? What are the seeds you've planted that you might not be nurturing enough? And then what do you want your garden to look like when we wake up on December 31st and we're celebrating your accomplishments in Q4? So take 5 minutes for this, and then we'll get into our Q&A. All right, team, welcome back. Yeah, I got through that one really fast, partly because I know I can only do so many things. So I got to 3 and I figured that was probably what was most important and I should stop there. I saw Jamar also felt that that one was a little easier. I see want to try and create more community on LinkedIn so he doesn't feel awkward posting there. Well, we've got lots of folks on LinkedIn today. So 10 right now. We had 11 a little while ago. So maybe we can start that friendly community building among the folks who've been here today with Goal Friday. Um, and then the ones that I have to offer there, and then definitely add your thoughts in the comments. Um, I'm gonna love on my book. That was the words that came to mind. I don't know what has gotten into me this morning that I am feeling so uncharacteristically full of good stuff. But those were the words that my brain said, and I wrote them down, and I'm gonna just put that in as large of letters, maybe across the wall in front of me. I'm gonna love on my book. I'm gonna nurture our sales automation processes that we're working on. And then we're making the shift from serving enterprise to serving enterprise businesses and solos and small businesses. So I'm going to clarify our content doors and journeys for our corporate clients so we can continue to serve corporate clients well, but also serve all of you solos and small businesses who need the help so much. So those are my 3. I would love to see what you're planning to cultivate in the chat window. And then we're going to, I'm actually going to open it up for Q&A right now. I'll stop my screen share. So we'll open it up for Q&A before or rather, I guess I should do this part first. Sorry, that was a little premature, just in case folks have to drop. Um, we'll get to Q&A in just a minute, so think about your questions, drop them in the chat window so we can come back to them. I am going to share with you I keep having people ask when my book is out, and I've done a terrible job of letting people know that my No BS OKRs workbook is out. It's available as a PDF download right now, and it's only $19 US. If you are one of my Australia people watching the replay, there is a Australian checkout option. So you can go to this link and it'll show you the Australian checkout option also. But the No BS OKR workbook is 50 pages of worksheets. And that sounds like a lot, but it's not. It's big pages, lots of worksheets. I think there's 14 worksheets in there that basically help you learn the very basics of directional and inspired and measurable goal setting, and then walk you step by step through the process of creating your own goals. I also have a discount and a payment plan option running right now on my Unblock Your Inner Strategist membership. Shout out to JJ, and there might be some other members on the call today. We're going to actually adjourn from here to 45 more minutes together to work on the nitty gritty of our measurable learnings from the last quarter. So you can find us there at the URL there. I dropped these in the chat window for YouTube folks, and it was terribly formatted, so I apologize for that. LinkedIn folks, I'll send these links to you afterward. And then if $19 for the workbook is too much for you right now, I have a quarterly reset guide that builds on what we've done here today. So you can get that at that findrc.co/quarterly_rev URL. And then remember, we're going to be back here next week for a live on the role that goal setting can play in reducing overthinking. Hello, my people. And we'll be back in 2 weeks on the role that goal setting can play on reducing overdoing and reducing the risk of burnout. So with that, I would really love to hear if anyone has any questions. There's a little delay with the chat window, so it might take a minute, but drop your questions in the chat and then we'll get them sorted for you. All right. I'm going to stick around even if we don't have any questions, but I'll do my little wrap up so folks can drop. So come back next week. We will be here again, 9 a.m. on LinkedIn and YouTube. I'll work on I'll work on having those links be prettier for YouTube folks. Apologies for that. We're going to work on goal setting practices. Like I said, we're going to work on reducing our overthinking next week and reducing our overdoing. And I know it's counterintuitive to think that goal setting could help with reducing burnout, but it actually can, because it can help us focus on what's most important and stop focusing on what isn't. So that second one in 2 weeks will be on reducing burnout risk for overdoers. And then there's there's 6 more after that coming soon. So let's see, we've got, oh, LB put something in the compost that moved to the cultivation. That's awesome. No, it doesn't matter. There are no rules for this. This is not a rule place. This is a place of doing your best thinking, giving yourself a few minutes to notice your inner wisdom and your inner insight and your inner vision, because we're all so busy. We are all doing so many things. We don't take enough time to just we might spend lots of time overthinking, but that's different. That's why I love these short exercises. Ellie, you're here. I hope you're feeling better. So Ellie just dropped the link for the workbook in the chat window for our LinkedIn folks. You're amazing, Ellie. I didn't expect to see you today. So another question, I'd be interested in knowing how you get through those moments of being stumped with your garden planning. That's another reason we do these exercises really fast. You could always spend longer on them. But if we are doing a 5-minute question and answer and we aren't feeling it, then there's no loss. You can always come back to it later. Or I would say probably if I put myself in your shoes and I'm feeling stumped with my garden planning, I would throw on some music and go for a walk. Or even go for a walk without the music, because sometimes we think differently with an input versus just giving your brain some time to breathe. Or like take a shower. I have never been connected to the word somatic until this week's Thinky Doers guest, TJ Matten. She's a play expert. And working with her on these 2 episodes, now I'm kind of obsessed with the role that the somatic system plays in everything. But if you're feeling stumped, change it up, go for a walk, do something that activates your body, because we think with our whole bodies, not just our brain. There's a killer book. Unfortunately, it's on the bottom of my book pile, but I'll include the link to my bookstore in the links that I share after this. Incredible book by Annie Murphy Paul called The Extended Mind, about how we don't just think in our heads, we think with our bodies. So you can fuel your creative thinking by activating your body as well and get to really good insight. All right, friends, that's our time. Thank you so much for joining. This was so much fun today. I really appreciate you all being here. I can't wait to see you all back in a week, and we'll work on that goal setting for overthinking and taking care of ourselves in that way. And I'll see you next time.